The Rebel Alliance and early New Republic were in a tough position even after Endor. Despite the death of the Emperor and the resulting confusion among Imperial forces, the rebels were at a definite disadvantage compared to virtually every other major warlord group. As the rebels went from being a guerrilla group trying to disrupt the Imperial war machine to being a proper government expected to hold and defend territory, it could have been much easier for an organized Imperial response to begin to hold them back, if only they had a leader. Plenty of Imperial leaders and policies contributed to this issue, from Palpatine to other admirals and leaders of local sectors and planetary governments, with significant help from rebel agents under General Aaron Kraken of Alpha Blue, a secret division of New Republic intelligence dedicated to this kind of clandestine activity. But arguably more than anything else, Mon Mothma was responsible for throwing a wrench into any possibility of crushing the rebellion in those early post-Endor days, by issuing a single policy declaration which, according to Ackbar, delivered more worlds to the New Republic than any dozen campaigns could have. This policy statement, called the Defense Declaration, devolved responsibility for local planetary defense forces from the control of the central government back to the local sectors and governments as they had been under the Republic. We covered the sheer scale of former planetary defense forces in a video a few weeks ago, after thousands of years of buildup in the Republic, but there was a key difference under this new policy. Under the Old Republic, because of the Ruusan reformations of 1,000 years prior, there was a limit to how big ships could be when owned or operated by these local planetary defense forces. Under the New Republic, even though there hadn't been quite as much time to build up the same forces, there was no such limit. This declaration had a profound effect on remaining Imperial territory. Plenty of planets had directly joined the rebels as soon as the Battle of Endor had finished, and the defense declarations were enough to pull over many other systems who were not necessarily as aligned with the New Republic on a lot of other issues, but they saw a greater opportunity for self-determination with control over their own defense fleets, compared to being at the mercy of the Empire controlling all of them. Led by admirals and moffs whose main loyalty would have been to the throne rather than to the systems that they were protecting. Other systems still were split, with a divide between those who wanted to join the New Republic and some of the powerful moths who wanted to retain control in those systems. For some of them, the result was a local war between New Republic and Imperial loyalists, denying the Empire of yet more resources that may have otherwise been able to be used against the New Republic in their early campaigns. A large part of the early strategies of the New Republic were less about conquering large swaths of territory, and more on moving up major hyperlanes to connect their own forces and divide the Imperials, allowing access to some of the planets that did join them after Endor. With the defense declarations pulling out more isolated pockets of space, it basically buried any remaining chance of a unified Imperial response. While Mon Mothma's defense declarations were instrumental in some of these key early victories for the New Republic, they weren't without their long-term costs. Many sectors and systems built up to such a point that local civil wars became inevitable, as they could challenge elements of the New Republic military in some situations. All systems were still expected to contribute to the centralized New Republic defense fleet, but to a more diminished degree than under the Empire, and those sector forces were not directly answerable to the New Republic government. Along with the threat of civil war this posed in situations like the Kamaz crisis, which nearly fractured the entire New Republic barely 20 years after its founding, this sometimes meant the New Republic lacked the forces themselves to deal with a crisis when it arose, as happened during the Corellian crisis, when the New Republic had to borrow Bakura's defense fleet, one of the member planets, in order to prevent the First Corellian insurrection from fracturing the New Republic yet again. A devastating galaxy-wide conflict did arise during the Second Galactic Civil War of 40 ABY, based on local sector force buildup. By this point though, limits had already been re-established on local sector forces, which was actually one of the key points of contention for the Corellia-led rebels. The recent Yuuzhan-Vong War had pushed systems back to wanting larger defense forces, partially in case of another crisis like the Vong War, but partially because some systems like Corellia, in the wake of the Vong War, saw the potential to throw their own weight around and become galactic leaders. The Vong War had left a power vacuum which planets like Corellia and Bothawi had hoped to fill themselves. So, despite the clear early success of the defense declarations, it was also a double-edged sword. That's going to do it for today's video. I'm also working on a new animated video where I'm going to be covering the early campaigns of the New Republic with a new animated map. I've been really happy with it so far. I'm trying to recreate the style of the Essential Guide to Warfare and the Essential Atlas, so depending on how long rendering takes, it'll hopefully be out this weekend, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It's a lot of frames. Other than that, it's currently Mod of the Year time on Mod Database. If you'd like to consider voting for our mods, Thrawn's Revenge or Fall of the Republic, I'll leave a link in the description or the comments. You can vote for as many mods as you like during this phase, and we'd appreciate your support if you've played the mods before. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.